Tonight, police appeal for information over the brutal bashing of an 11-month-old boy in Port Lincoln more than a decade ago. And a Whyalla teenager sets his sight on the world stage after being crowned the state boxing champ.
This is Southern Cross News with Fraser Goldsworthy.
Good evening. Police have released shocking new details about the murder of 11-month-old Dylan Lindsey. The boy was found brutally beaten at a Port Lincoln home in 2004, and detectives are now offering $1 million reward for information on the cold case.
The innocent face of a child who fell victim to the most heinous of crimes. Dylan Lindsey was just 11 months old when he was found brutally beaten inside a Port Lincoln home in March 2004. His mother, at the time, was battling with a drug and alcohol addiction.
I do remember, Dylan had a round face. We had a happy life. We felt complete then, you know.
Samara Lindsey and baby Dylan, along with 3 other children, were left at the house on Ellen Street, where a number of adults were also staying. Police believe sometime during that night, a dreadful crime occurred.
Dylan had sustained some horrific injuries, including fractured ribs, a lacerated liver and a bruised heart. The
killer then attempted to cover up the bruising, drawing texture on Dylan's body to disguise the marks.
There was a lot of texture marks on Dylan's chest and lower abdomen that we believe put there and had covered up 18 bruises that were visible on his body.
Early the next morning, an adult staying at the house noticed Dylan unresponsive and rushed to nearby neighbours to seek emergency assistance. His sister still lives with the pain of that day.
We had to take the life support off. It was a bit of comfort there, because I know Mum would have wanted to be with Dylan, you know.
Police have only now revealed the horrific extent of Dylan's injuries in hopes of sparking new interest to unlock the cold case. They believe someone in Port Lincoln knows what happened to Dylan Lindsey. 2 people were arrested over Dylan's death back in 2004, but were later released without charge. Police are now offering $1 million reward for anyone with information leading to a conviction.
People haven't forgotten about Dylan, you know, because he deserves justice.
Jason Kemp, Southern Cross News.
A woman from the Mid-North has fronted the Port Pirie Magistrates Court today, charged with several animal cruelty offences. The hearing follows a raid at the woman's property earlier this year. Rachel Nell has more.
Dora Ryan faced court for the first time today, charged with offences relating to the ill treatment of 28 animals, which were seized from her Baruta property in May this year. She was also charged with trying to hinder an inspector carrying out his duties of power when local police and the RSPCA attended the property. In the lead up to the case, she was asked to provide a vet report and access to her animals in order to do so. A report has now been made investigating the claims. Ryan's legal representation told the court it intends to lodge an application as soon as possible, arguing a possible abuse of power on part of the RSPCA. The RSPCA's prosecution wasn't in court today, and the case has been adjourned for later next month.
The CFS says residents across parts of the Mid-North can expect to see smoke lingering for a number of days as a large hay shed fire near Laura continues to burn. Firefighters were called to the property earlier today after the blaze broke out on the property on Stockroot Road. The CFS says it'll continue to monitor the fire over the coming days, but is advising those living nearby to be aware of reduced visibility on the roads. Police across regional New South Wales are working to boost the importance of reporting crimes at rural properties. Officers are using Rural Crime Week to dispel any doubts of action by police when said offences are reported.
Trespassing, illegal hunting and stock theft. They're the sort of crimes officers are looking to stamp out.
What it's very much about is really showing the importance of rural crime, the impact across the community, but also raising awareness about what you can do, which is importantly, contact police.
Police often find rural crimes go unreported because victims believe there is no proof or it isn't serious enough to warrant an investigation. Officers say that couldn't be further from the truth.
We have information and report those rural crimes so we have awareness about what's happening out in areas.
It comes as a second region enforcement squad was deployed in country New South Wales. The squad, based in Dubbo, will help decrease the workload of frontline police working on domestic violence, property-related offences and drug trafficking.
If they're based in Dubbo or they're based nearby, that's additional resources to support our investigators here. And where I see is that when we have a rural crime job running, that's additional detectives, investigators to come out, provide additional expertise to support our own investigators within our command.
Patrick Reinke, Southern Cross News.
The school holidays has seen an increase in damage to properties across Whyalla. Police recorded over 10 instances over a 5-day period last week. It seems schools and disused properties have been hit hardest, with school facilities on Nicholson Avenue and Hinks Avenue targeted. It's believed rocks and other objects were used to smash the windows.
Keeping their homes well lit and possibly having CCTV cameras can definitely benefit. Keep your vehicles locked if they're outside and possibly parked behind a garage or behind some gates, and don't leave any valuables inside your vehicles.
Anyone with information on the damage should contact Crime Stoppers. Still to come tonight, the Whyalla teenager crowned the state boxing champ. His story next. A report tabled in Parliament this week claims $8 million is sitting idle in the Boating Facilities Fund. It's left the state opposition baffled as to why the levy is not being used to update hundreds of boat ramps around the state.
55,000 South Australians take to the water every year. To keep their hobby afloat, boaties must pay a levy on top of their fees and registration. That levy, totalling $3 million per year, is meant to be spent on updating boat ramps and jetties. But the state opposition claims it's not.
There's over $8 million sitting in the Boating Facilities Levy Fund, and we just think there's no point in the government sitting on this amount of money when it could go out into the facilities where it was supposed to be spent.
This week, the Auditor-General released its annual report revealing millions in untouched funds. The member for Flinders says that money should be going back into the regions.
It's a lot of money that's coming in each and every year, and there's no point whatsoever in hoarding that funding. It might as well be spent out in the regions on our boating facilities.
For councils to access the boating levy to install or update facilities, it must first front half the cash.
Our proposal is to reduce that co-contribution from council down to 20%, so it's less onerous on local government, less onerous on our coastal councils, and hopefully will make that fund more accessible.
The Eyre Peninsula boasts dozens of jetties and boat ramps along the coast. Making sure the facilities stay ship-shape is vital to the local economy.
It's a big part of our recreational lifestyle and it's a big part of our tourist attraction.
Jason Kemp, Southern Cross News.
Simek Mining will shut down the Whyalla pellet plant this weekend for planned maintenance. 450 employees and contractors will be involved in the works, which is expected to run from Saturday until the middle of next week. The company says it'll improve performance and reliability of the plant. It'll also allow Simek to work in areas generally inaccessible due to the heat during its operation. Experts from around Australia have formed a panel at Port Augusta's SEGRA conference to examine the government's policy relationship with the nation's regional centres. They say capital city-based governments must change their view of the importance of regional Australia.
The SEGRA conference is all about economic growth within regional Australia, and government policies are a big factor in that growth.
Regions can't be left to themselves. They need support, they need resources, and they need central governments to really be thinking about them and understanding what they need.
This was the topic of today's panel discussion: how city-based state and federal governments and the regions can find common ground.
We have an historic romantic one about people in dry as a bone and hats, but we're all kind of all hat and no cattle, as they say, in the sense as a nation, because that's gone. The majority of us are not out doing that anymore.
The Regional Australia Institute chief says while regional Australia is often misunderstood, organisations in the regions should work together and take the reins of their own future.
You know, if you wait around for government to give you permission to be successful, for government to come up with the answer for your place, it's going to be a really disappointing experience.
He says the Upper Spencer Gulf mayors in our region is a prime example.
And what they've been able to achieve collectively really reflects that sort of success.
This is wonderful for us. to be recognised that we are working as a region together, the three cities. We've got so much in common, and with a united voice we can make so many more things happen.
Regional Development Whyalla and Ayers CEO says the SEGRA conference has inspired many local delegates.
You know, at the end of the day, help people in our community to help themselves.
Amelia Simpson, Southern Cross News.
Well, Whyalla is now the proud home to a state boxing champion. 16-year-old Jesse Jones took out the 66-kilogram title earlier this month, with his coach now saying he has the potential to compete on the national and international stages.
He might be a winner, but there's no rest for Jesse Jones. The newly crowned state champion was back in the ring last night, just weeks after becoming a state champion. He was introduced to the sweet science by someone who'd later lost interest, but Jesse knew it was for him.
Because my friend recently got into it. They only lasted about 2 or 3 weeks, so I just decided to keep heading on with it and to see where I got.
That leap of faith has paid off. He defeated Callum Peters in the 66-kilogram division to take out the state title. Jesse had faced Peters previously and says while his opponent had the experience, it was his own movement that got him over the line.
My game plan was just to move as much as I could, so ended up getting away out of these punches, jumping back, sliding, countering.
The victory sees him remain undefeated in the sport. His trainer says the key to his success is his work ethic.
He works hard. He never complains, he never whinges, he comes in and does what he has to do.
He's backed Jesse to punch on towards the national titles and even the Commonwealth Games.
It's a matter of hard work and dedication, and you will achieve it.
Hopefully get to the Commonwealth, if the Olympic comes along, sure thing. But my goal is to be world champion.
John Hunt, Southern Cross News.
After the break, the last-minute checks at the Broken Hill Racecourse ahead of the Silver City Cup this weekend. It's a vital support service for the elderly in our community, and it's now marking a major milestone. Port Augusta's Meals on Wheels is celebrating nearly 50 years of providing meals, but it's now needing help itself more than ever.
Port Augusta's Meals on Wheels does more than just deliver food.
We just ask them to make sure that they're drinking water, be careful when you walk around, all those sort of things. So we're sort of an impromptu carer.
The local organisation is celebrating its 46th birthday this year, and it's a program where volunteers are proud to play a part.
My way of giving something back to the community, and it's communicating with people that don't have any contact with other people.
The volunteers pick up the food before midday and then deliver around town, a job that takes around 2 hours each day. Often it's more than just simply dropping food off, but now it's in need of more helping hands.
I couldn't get them a form quick enough. No, look, the thing is, they need to understand, that they're helping someone that's really, really poorly. And the other thing is that they're helping someone that doesn't get a lot of attention apart from what we provide with them. And it is rewarding.
Some are in their 80, 80 or whatever, and they probably need meals themselves half the time, and they're just still, volunteering because they don't want to let people down by giving it up.
Amelia Simpson, Southern Cross News.
Well, the final touches are being put on the Broken Hill Racecourse ahead of the Silver City Cup race meeting this weekend. Thousands are expected to pour through the gates, and it's expected to be a picture-perfect day.
From the chairs to the track, everything seems to be lining up for a great weekend for the Cup.
I believe that we're well on target to have a great crowd at the Silver City Cup.
All hands are on deck as the racecourse undergoes a final check in preparation for thousands of punters, socialites and fashionistas. The sunshades are up for those who have booked a table. The track's in prime condition.
Our track is magnificent at the present stage. We've had great comments from the trainers, so I think it's going to be great for the horses and great for the fashions and great for the people of Broken Hill.
The Silver City Cup is known as a more family-friendly race meeting compared to St Pat's. Parents can expect plenty of rides and activities to keep their kids entertained long into the afternoon. Trackside's also looking very spick and span, with plenty of green grass to go around.
They've done a fantastic job, and the other people in the committee of the Silver City Cup. And one other thing, the corrective services have done a fantastic job cleaning it up. Community involvement, community spirit for a community event.
Weather-wise, organisers have backed a winner of a day. The forecast is 32 degrees with a bit of cloud, a lot better than race days of years gone by.
Well, let's hope so. Like last year was freezing cold and the year before was boiling hot. So it's a bit of a mixed bag there. But I think the prediction this year, the gods are looking on us, the sun god's looking on us, and I think it's going to be a fantastic day.
Patrick Roenke, Southern Cross News.
Time to see what's biting around the Gulf now. Here's Fish and Tips.
Welcome another week around the Gulf Fishing Tips from Port Pirie. This is a great time of the year to be alive. Yellowfin whiting arrived and there's plenty around in the shallow, so have a crack at those. We all know what to do. Just look for the little black marks where they've been looking for worms. You'll get yourself a good feed. Blue swimmer crabs around. A lot of females on the Jermaine jetty at the moment, so don't take any of those. We need that for the breeding stock. Snapper, there's been some large ones floating around the place as well, which are really good. Deeper gutters. If you want some smaller ones, try the creek.
G'day and welcome to this week's Fishing Tips from Port Augusta, Jewel North. Well, just about standard reports up here. The crabs are starting to come in. King George whiting can still be found, but the shitties have moved in, so making the efforts there a little bit harder, but they have been a little bit bigger. Try casting out the back of where you've been burleying up to get the bigger whiting. Kingfish up around the top of the Gulf and also around the powerhouse. Some big salmon down at Port Patterson and also some snapper from the seabird. So a real mixed bag there if you want to go out and get into it.
There's been some good schools of salmon still out the Black Point and the Point Lowly areas. They've been busting up big schools of bait fish, so get amongst them. There's also been some really, really large yellowtail kingfish floating around those areas. They're starting to show up in good numbers, so definitely now's the time to get a live bait out underneath a balloon and have a crack at those. For the boat anglers, snapper have been a little bit slow. We haven't had very good weather past week, but this weekend, again, the tides are slow, so definitely work the deeper waters, probably towards the Point Lowly Rip's going to be the best area to target. And the King George whiting have been really good down towards Mount Young and further south towards Cowlard's Landing.
G'day and welcome to Fishing Tips in Port Lincoln. Well, there's actually been a few tuna caught down south around the cabbage patch over the last couple of weeks. There's also a few Samsons in that area as well. Back a little bit closer to home, the squid have been going well along the North Shore. There's a few snook in the local bays, but the salmon trout have been pretty quiet lately. Moving up the coast to Port Neal, there's been some nice whiting caught and they've been a good size too. Down at Coffin Bay, there's been some garfish in the bay systems. There's been a few whiting around the oyster racks in certain places, and there's been quite a few boats down there looking for kingfish as well. Well, that's all for this week. We'll see you again next week with more fishing tips.
Stay with us after the break. Nicole joins us with the weather.
Plenty of clear skies in Whyalla, but it's a bit of a different story across the rest of the region. I'll have all the details next. Welcome back to the weather now. A bit of cloud about today across the region. Still warm though with a top of 28 in Port Augusta, 24 in Whyalla. Clear skies in Port Lincoln and looking like it was a fine day in Adelaide for a top of 21 degrees. Having a look at the satellite, cloud over South Australia's southeast with onshore winds is triggering a few showers. On the Gulf waters, winds will be west-southwesterly up to 30 knots. Seas reaching 2.5 metres, sunrise just before 6:30, sunset at around 20 to 8. A bit of a wet and windy day tomorrow, showers in Port Augusta and Whyalla for 34. Broken Hill also hit with some wet weather and a windy day in Port Lincoln and Adelaide for 30 degrees. Looking ahead, a miserable few days in Port Lincoln, just sneaking a day of sunshine in on Saturday. A similar story in Cleve and Woodner as well, a top of 26 on the way Friday. In Whyalla, we'll be wrapping up the weekend with windy weather, clearing up Monday, much the same for Port Augusta. The temperature is dipping down in Kadina for a top of 21 on Monday, with showers continuing. And we can't seem to shake the wet and windy weather in Port Pirie. It will be quickly clearing in Clare on Saturday for 22, and showers continuing over the weekend in Broken Hill before the sun comes out Monday. So Fraser, not the most ideal weekend with plenty of wet weather on the way.
Bit of a shame. Thanks, Nicole. And that's the news this Thursday. Thanks for joining us. We'll have updates later. Until then, good night.